Oh, hey, Karma, everybody's favorite dog, and I'm going to be talking about most people's least favorite subject. And that subject is an increase in price of oil, whether it's necessary or not, right? So, as a lot of you know, it's now been stated that there were drone strikes. Now, everything's a drone strike now. That there are drone strikes, right, of Saudi Arabian oil fields by Iran. Now, Mike Pompeo out of the gate saying Iran. Okay, here's the deal. No matter whether it was Iran or not, and believe me, politically timed, this is ridiculous, as we have some more revelations on Bolton in a moment, right? But, wow, the buffering train, it stopped me right there. But anyway, regardless, and we're going to get into what I think happened with this drone strike, Saudi Arabian oil fields. But they're saying they've halved their productions because of this. What does that mean? That means that whether or not it was going to go up in the first place, they're going to gouge you. So that's really the only pressure, along with propaganda, that gets into people's heads when it starts to get into their wallets. And all of a sudden, instead of, the 150 to 250 across the nation, you're paying for a gallon of gas turns into $3 to $5, right? So, Bolton leaving. Bolton saying he was going to resign because of the Camp David Taliban thing. Now, here's the interesting thing. A lot of people were not happy with what I had to say about Trump yesterday and his comments about Venezuela and Cuba, and I'm sticking by those statements. That's fine. But let's say he was going to have those talks with the Taliban in Camp David. Should have had them, shouldn't have just flexed. Secondly, we're now learning that he was considering talking to Iran and lifting sanctions. That would have been huge. Think about that. People don't understand what sanctions really are, but in essence, they are a total and complete act of war. So you can't cut off not only, resources, but supply trains to those resources from other nations that would do business. It's very constricting. And it puts a government in a position that they're already kind of impounded upon by our military industrial complex, as their nation is basically surrounded. It's like Iran. Why'd you put your nation by all our military installations, right, Karma? Right, Karm? Yeah. So Bolton saying that he flipped out when he suggested this is another reason maybe he had to be gotten rid of, right? Now, I'm not encouraged with the current replacement. We'll see who he actually replaces them with, but it's very telling to me that Trump wants to talk to the Taliban, and then what happens? An attack in Kabul, and they say it's from a position of strength, et cetera, et cetera. Whatever happens, there are no peace talks at Camp David with the Taliban, let alone the fact we've never really blamed the Taliban for 9/11. It was Al-Qaeda, and that's a big difference. 20 watching, 6 thumbs up. Can we double the thumbs up, guys? I don't know how many newbies we got in there, but me and Karma have a nice little walk along here. So you look at that, and then following it up, it's been relatively quiet with Iran the last few weeks. The United States has kind of pulled back from the focal point in that, and you have Israel lighting up the Middle East, attacking several nations amidst a week-long period, right? Scaring Beirut, and we're talking about Lebanon here, going far beyond even Syria. And now 21st Century Wire, there's a great article out there. I think I'm going to cover it later when I get into this more in depth. But it's talking about how Russia's saying on 4 separate occasions, it actually knocked out Israeli missiles that were trying to hit Syrian targets. Now, none of this is in our mainstream media, right? How often are you hearing about Syria in the first place? How often are you hearing from a perspective of Iranians and the Iranian Revolutionary Guard who are, quote unquote, really fighting ISIS on the ground, being put in a position where they're labeled as terrorists, they're targets of Saudi Arabia, even in this Yemen campaign, or they're used as a scapegoat for some of these actions, saying Hezbollah this, or Iranian Revolutionary Guard sympathizers, that's the new term. Remember back in the day when instead of it was sympathizers, it was enemy combatant? And it worried me, obviously, when Trump said that he would give Pompeo a dual post, because whether he thinks Pompeo is his friend or not, I guarantee he's not. And it's so tough for me because on one hand, for instance, we talked ad nauseum the last few days about the Israeli spy ring that was uncovered by Politico using Stingray cellular equipment to intercept more than just phone numbers and calls, right? All sorts of metadata around them. Talked about that. And we talked about Netanyahu's denial, and we talked about Trump's denial. Now, I'm no fool. I don't believe that Trump doesn't realize that Israel is spying on the United States on some level. I don't think his inner cabinet or administration or advisors are saying, no, these leakers are liars. They have a vendetta against Israel. I think they're telling him, no, Mr. President, this is a reality. And then they're giving him a limited view of that reality. At the same time, they're also assuring him that we have forces in Tel Aviv doing the same thing, right? So there may be a little tit for tat in private between him and the Bibster at some point, but in public, they're going to act like everything is hunky-dory. Why? Number one, they don't want to shake anything up during election season, right? You have Trump on the 2020 election, sure, still early there, but in this runoff election with Barack and Netanyahu, it's a totally different ballgame. Because again, geopolitics are complex. They are complex. And if you want to say hi to Karma and check out how complex and what these Israeli spy networks have been capable of and how long they've really been in or outside the White House, in or outside of DC, go check out my Jonathan Pollard video. That's pretty confirmed stuff there. It's pretty mainline stuff when an American citizen out of Galveston, Texas, born and raised there, joins the Navy and intelligence and starts working for a foreign government taken out during the Espionage Act, or with the Espionage Act during the mid-'80s, right? Yeah, we're going, Karma. We're checking it out. So, with all that being said, today I did an Epstein update finally. Come on, no, we're not eating grass. Epstein update finally. A lot of stuff in there focused on Les Wexner, Sarah Ransom, what the media is not really focusing on. More confirmation of the allegations that he was indeed taping many of the men that were coming to his island. So a lot of important stuff. We're trying to cover the important issues here. I think we're going to have an R. Kelly update as well, because R. Kelly brought up on more charges. I believe it was out of Minnesota this time, right? And here's the thing there. I don't think that guy's ever going to see the light of day. I think finally his day has come. He's going to be in prison for the rest of his life, which is where he should be. And hopefully it'll be a warning to those that are in the entertainment industry that they cannot get away with this type of behavior forever. Okay? Hey, quit with the grass. Because that message was certainly not delivered with Harvey Weinstein and his cohorts. Let me repeat that. Was not delivered with Weinstein and his cohorts. Because now we're finding out that there are indeed connections of the inner circle of Epstein and Weinstein. And I want to remind everybody, I believe it was back in either November or December of last year, Jack Scarola, one of the lawyers out there, right, that was working for Bradley Edwards in that suit, that Bradley Edwards went all the way for almost a decade's time after he was sued. He had to counter-sue. It's on the day they're going to pick the jury for this trial, and Epstein settles. And Scarola, with Edwards, gives a press conference, and he says that Weinstein slithers in the same circles as these people after Edwards talks about how they run in the same circles and how Harvey Weinstein is essentially running Hollywood at that point. And these are all valid points that, the mainstream media doesn't focus on. Where is Jean-Luc Brunel? Where is Les Wexner? A guy who is heavily involved in foreign policy issues in the Middle East and has been for decades through the Wexner Foundation. Why are we giving them a pass? Where's Ghislaine Maxwell, Sarah Palin, Leslie Groff, Nadia Marcinkova, Natalia Malyshev, all these women that help procure. We read an account today where after Epstein was done with one of his girls at 16, 16 karma, I can't believe it either, he had her procure, according to her, how many girls? 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, over 70 girls. At least 70 girls. And again, with the revelations this week that he was getting off planes with girls that appeared to be 11 and 12 years old, this is a sick puppy. And this is a sick puppy with big money that big people were taking. And just because you were associated with him didn't mean you were a pedophile, but you certainly get compromised, don't you? And that's what you're seeing in the MIT scandals, et cetera, et cetera. It's a big world out there. I'm hoping we don't go to war with Iran. I know I started with that, but don't be fooled, folks. Do not be fooled. I mean, I want to believe that Trump wants peace. I want peace, right? Isn't that what most of them put him in there for? And when I hear that Bolton threw a fit because Trump thought to himself, hey, let's end these sanctions, I couldn't agree more with that. I think that that needs to be done, 100%. And I want to believe that, but let's see, right after that, what happens? We've got drone bombings that are being blamed on Iran in Saudi Arabia that could cause oil prices to go up, and a conflict in the Middle East like one we've never seen before. So make sure to thumbs this video up, share it. If you're new to the game, subscribe to the Burmis Brigade and Jason Burmis and Little Karma, huh? That's what you got to do, because we're doing it big 3 to 7 times a day. And with that being said, and someone peeling out next to me on the highway, I'll see you on the flip side.